Have you ever been absolutely driven mad by a sound you just can't place?
Oh, definitely.
You know that feeling, right? That faint, irritating hum, maybe? 3 a.m. seems to come from nowhere.
Yep. Or a whine, a high-pitched thing that just cuts through the quiet.
Exactly. And it disrupts your peace, makes you almost question your sanity sometimes. You walk around, you put your ear to walls, open windows.
And nothing. The
But I know
source
it's
just stays hidden. It's invisible.
so frustrating. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into how some really cutting-edge sound technology is tackling exactly these kinds of, well, perplexing noise problems.
Right. We're talking about something pretty fascinating. The acoustic camera. It's kind of revolutionizing how we interact with sound.
Acoustic camera. So we're going to sort of pull back the curtain, see how this technology works, how it turns sound into something you can actually, well, see.
That's the plan. We'll look at what it can do, some real-world uses, and this is the really cool part. We'll unpack a case where one of these cameras tracked down this incredibly baffling sound that was driving a whole community nuts.
Okay, great. So if you're maybe new to this idea of seeing sound, or you just want a clear shortcut to understanding how it all works and what it means for solving these tricky problems, stick around. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So our ears, they're amazing, right? Constantly taking in the world. But imagine if you could not just hear a sound, but actually visually pinpoint where it's coming from, see its intensity.
That's basically the core idea
Mm.
behind an acoustic camera. It's almost like having a superpower, making the invisible visible.
Superpower. I like that. It's like sonic X-ray vision or something.
Yeah, or maybe like a sound microscope. It's less like a normal camera taking a picture and more about mapping sound. Where does it start? How loud is it right at the source?
Mm.
It makes those hidden noises much harder to hide.
So it's not just saying, yep, there's a noise. It's saying the noise is coming from right here. That seems crucial for those mystery sounds.
Absolutely critical.
What are some of the main ways this tech gets used then? Where does it really shine?
Well, the applications are surprisingly broad, actually.
Yeah.
Way beyond just finding that weird hum in your house.
Okay.
Obviously, the big one is sound source identification, solving those mystery noise complaints we started with. But they're also really good for finding sound leakage.
Ah, leakage. Like where sound is getting out of a room it shouldn't. Or maybe into a car cabin.
Exactly that, finding the weak spots in soundproofing. Or, yeah, that annoying wind noise in a car. Pinpointing air leaks.
Okay.
And it goes further. The auto industry uses them a lot. Vehicle noise analysis, helping engineers quiet down engines, finding squeaks and rattles.
Makes sense.
In general industry, too. Diagnosing machinery problems, maybe identifying a faulty bearing or a vibration before it gets serious. And they're really important for environmental noise monitoring,
Environmental. How so?
like in urban planning, mapping out noise pollution hotspots in a city. And even in building acoustics, checking how well insulation works, or optimizing the sound in a concert hall, maybe. It's all about getting this incredibly detailed picture of the soundscape.
Wow, that's
Ah.
quite a range.
Right.
A really versatile tool. But okay, how does it do that? How does this sophisticated sound site actually happen? What's the tech inside?
Right. So the heart of it is something called a microphone array.
An array, right?
Instead of just one microphone, these systems use lots of them, sometimes dozens, sometimes hundreds, all working together.
So loads of tiny ears all listening at once.
Pretty much. They capture sound data from slightly different positions at the exact same time. This creates this really rich, multi-dimensional set of data.
Like getting slightly different perspectives on the same sound, building a clearer picture than just one ear could get.
That's a good way to put it. And then, yeah, some pretty clever processing takes all that raw sound info and turns it into a visual map, usually overlaid on a regular video image.
Clever is right. Can you give us an example? Like, what does one of these systems actually look like?
Sure. Let's take the Norsonic Hextile system. As the name kind of suggests, it's hexagonal, it's modular, which is neat,
Modular meaning.
meaning it's portable and flexible. You're not talking about some huge fixed piece of lab gear.
Okay, so you can take it out into the field easily.
Exactly. A single Hextile unit is surprisingly light, less than 3 kilos, and pretty compact, maybe 46 centimeters across. Easy to carry, easy to set up.
And inside this hexagon, the microphones.
Yep. It packs in 128 of these tiny, high-performance MEMS microphones.
MEMS.
Micro-electromechanical systems. They're the same kind of advanced, miniaturized mics you find in, like, smartphones. Very precise, very small.
128 tiny mics and something you can carry around. That's impressive. What kind of sounds is that single unit good for finding?
A single Hextile is great for surveys in, let's say, the mid to high frequency range. so 410 hertz up to 20 kilohertz. A lot of common noises fall in there.
Okay. And setting it up, is it complicated?
Actually remarkably simple. Often it's just a single USB cable straight to a laptop, like a MacBook. No extra power supply needed for the single unit. Plug it in, launch the app, and you're pretty much ready to measure.
Wow. Plug and play sound visualization.
Almost, yeah. It's designed for quick, on-site problem solving.
Okay, that sounds brilliant for a lot of things. But what if you need, I don't know, more detail? Or maybe you're chasing those really deep, low sounds. Because sometimes the most annoying noises are those rumbles you almost feel, right?
Uh-huh.
And they can be super hard to trace.
That's a really important point. And that's where the scalability of these systems is, well, ingenious. If you need better resolution, especially down at lower frequencies, you can combine multiple Hextile units.
Ah, so you physically connect them, like building blocks.
Exactly. You can, for instance, link 3 single Hextiles together to form a larger multi-tile system.
Okay, 3 hexagons making a bigger one.
Right. And that immediately boosts your power.
Yeah.
You've now got 384 microphones in total.
Wow.
And the whole array is bigger, about 96 centimeters across. This larger size, this aperture, lets you measure much lower frequencies effectively,
Yeah.
down to about 220 hertz, all the way up to 20 kilohertz in one go.
So better for those deeper rumbles while still catching the higher stuff. And setup time, still quick.
Still designed to be fast. Even the multi-tile, you can usually have it set up and ready to measure in under 5 minutes.
That's impressive. Customizing the tool for the job. Now, what about those really low sounds, like below 200 hertz, machinery hums, things like that? Is there another level?
There is. For those very specific, very low-frequency jobs, there's a configuration called multi-tile LF, low-frequency mode.
LF, okay. How's that different?
In this setup, you take the individual Hextiles, but you place them further apart, strategically. This increases the overall diameter of the array even more, maybe out to nearly 1.5 meters.
So spreading the ears out even wider, like casting a wider net for those longer, slower sound waves?
That's a great analogy, yeah. It makes the array more sensitive to those really deep sounds, specifically designed for measurements below 1 kilohertz, and it can reach down as low as 120 hertz. Ideal for tracking things like distant industrial noise or certain types of building vibrations.
Gotcha. So very specialized for the deep stuff. Does that setup need anything extra, power-wise?
Yeah, because of the larger array and the processing needed, the LF solution usually needs a powered USB hub. But cleverly, you can also use things like optical USB cables.
Optical, why?
It lets you place the control laptop much further away from the microphone array, maybe more than 10 meters. Really useful if you're measuring in a difficult or maybe hazardous industrial environment or just need some distance.
That makes sense. So you've got these adaptable configurations, single tile, multi-tile, low frequency mode. Very smart. Beyond just showing the sound map, what else do they do? Are there other built-in features?
Definitely. Across all these setups, they integrate key functions. They don't just capture the sound data from every single microphone in the array.
Which must be a lot of data.
It is. But they also record synchronized video from an optical camera that's built right in. So you get the sound map overlaid onto a real-time video feed.
So you see the sound in the visual context, where it's actually coming from on the screen.
Exactly. And all that data, the sound signals from every mic, the video gets recorded and stored, usually right onto the connected laptop.
That seems invaluable for documentation. Going back later, analyzing, showing someone exactly what you found.
Precisely. And the software is typically very user-friendly. It runs on a standard laptop, like a MacBook Pro. You get live intensity plots so you can see the sound sources popping up in real time while you're scanning around.
Like using thermal vision, but for sound?
Kind of, yeah. And then you also have powerful tools for post-processing, analyzing the recordings later, generating reports. And, for practical field use, they come with rugged, customized tripods. They're built to be used out there, not just in a lab.
It really does sound like something out of science fiction, but it's here, solving real problems. Which brings us to that real-world example. Let's head over to Hong Kong.
Yeah, this is a great case study. It comes from Hong Kong's Environmental Protection Department, the EPD. Starting back in early March 2024, they started getting a lot of complaints. Over 18, actually.
18. Okay, so not just one or two people annoyed.
No, this was widespread. Residents in several areas, places called LP6, Chung Kwan O, Montara Inner Gardens, they were all reporting this source unknown and irregular high-frequency noise. And critically, it was happening mostly at night.
At night, that's the worst. Disrupting sleep, people's daily routines.
Exactly. It was severely impacting them. And, understandably, people started forming theories.
I bet. What did they suspect?
Well, a lot of residents thought it might be coming from a nearby data center.
Okay, that makes sense. Data centers can have high-frequency cooling noises,
They
right?
can. It was a logical guess. But when the EPD started investigating, they hit problems. Big ones.
Such as?
Well, first, the noise was intermittent. It wasn't constant, which always makes things harder. Second, the environment was just really complex. Multiple big housing estates, shared gardens, lots of building equipment around.
A typical dense urban environment.
Right. And third, the sound was bouncing around like crazy,
Hmm.
reflecting off all those tall buildings. It made trying to pinpoint the origin with traditional methods almost impossible.
Yeah, I can see that. You could send inspectors out with standard sound level meters for weeks, maybe months, trying to catch it in the act, triangulate, but with reflections and it being intermittent. Nightmare.
Total nightmare. You might never find it that way.
So this sounds like a perfect job for the acoustic camera.
It was. Faced with this really tough challenge, the EPD brought in their acoustic camera system. Their teams did multiple nighttime visits, really rigorous, methodical deployment, using the camera to conduct what they called an in-depth investigation.
Okay, boots on the ground, camera in hand.
Wow.
What happened? Give us the aha moment.
Well, the results were pretty stunning, actually, in terms of both precision and speed. On March 15th, 2024, so not long after the complaints started ramping up, they nailed
They
it.
found it. What was it? Was it the data center?
That's the kicker. No, it was not the data center everyone suspected. The acoustic camera pinpointed the high-frequency noise as coming from a mid to high-level residential unit within the estate inner garden.
A single apartment.
Yeah, a specific apartment. And the likely cause. They believed it was some kind of damaged living facility inside that unit, maybe an appliance, HVAC unit, something like that.
Wow, that's incredible. From dozens of complaints across multiple buildings, pointing fingers at a data center, down to one specific faulty item in one apartment, all thanks to seeing the sound.
Exactly. Cut right through all the complexity, the reflections, the guesswork.
What did the EPD say about this? The
Oh.
impact?
They put out a statement, and they specifically highlighted how the acoustic camera, quote, significantly reduced investigation noise source required time. It let them help those residents much, much faster.
Faster resolution for a really disruptive problem. That's huge for the community.
Absolutely. And the EPD also emphasized that they're continuously looking at and bringing in these kinds of advanced technologies precisely to improve their efficiency and the quality of service they provide. It really shows how this tech isn't just cool, it's a practical game changer for problems that used to be incredibly difficult, sometimes impossible to solve.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. What does this story, this technology, mean for you listening right now? This isn't just about, a noisy fridge in Hong Kong.
No, it connects to a much bigger picture. This kind of tech fundamentally changes how we can approach problems that are, well, invisible. It's about using advanced sensors to get real clarity in situations that are complex or hidden.
Cutting through the noise, literally, to find the root cause quickly.
Right. It offers this amazing efficiency and accuracy. We live in a world with just so much information flying around, sometimes it's overload. Tools like this give you a shortcut, a direct path to being properly informed, getting precise answers where old methods might just lead to more confusion or take forever.
It avoids all that frustration, doesn't it? Turns guesswork into something data-driven, something precise you can act on.
Exactly. And it gives us this really compelling glimpse into a future where we can understand our surroundings much more deeply, whether it's a complicated factory floor or just the quiet environment of our own homes. It makes hidden problems visible and, crucially, solvable.
It bridges that gap between just hearing something is wrong and knowing exactly what it is and where it is.
Precisely.
So we've taken quite a journey today into the world of acoustic cameras. We've seen how they work, turning sound into these visual, actionable insights.
From those portable Hextile units with their hundreds of tiny mics,
Right, powered just by a laptop.
to the bigger scalable multi-tile systems that can reach down and pinpoint those really deep, low-frequency rumbles.
These tools are genuinely changing the game for detecting and solving complex, hard-to-find problems, like that mystery noise that plagued those residents in Hong Kong.
It's a powerful example, isn't it, how technology can take an invisible nuisance, something causing real distress, and turn it into a clearly identified issue with a clear solution, improving daily life for people.
It really is. And thinking about this ability to see sound with such precision, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? It leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over.
Yeah. If we can now visualize sound like this, what other things that seem invisible or elusive today might we be able to detect and understand soon using other kinds of advanced sensory tech?
And how might that fundamentally change the way we interact with and maybe manage the world around us?